What is up, everybody? This is Albert Campa, going to analyze this Sergio Ramos dilemma, the injury to Mo Salah. Look at a little bit of tape and see what's going on here. So, my contention is that Sergio Ramos did not do this intentionally. It was just an unfortunate accident. A lot of people have agreed, like Landon Donovan and some other outlets. A lot of people have disagreed and sort of gotten all over Ramos. But let's look at this play and analyze this. Went a little bit too far, so starting right here, the ball is in front of Mo Salah. He has possession, or not full possession because it's bouncing, but the ball is there in front of him and he's protecting the ball with his body, trying to at least. Ramos is trying to get in and slow down Mo Salah. This is why he sticks his left arm. The ref is a little bit in the way, but you can see Ramos's left arm going across in front of Mo Salah to try to slow him down and to get a foot on the ball. And as we go forward here, the intention of Ramos is to dispossess Mo Salah, and he's going to do this by sticking out his left toe or his left foot and tapping the ball away. That is his whole goal of this encounter. Now, Mo Salah is doing his best to try to shield the ball and protect it with his body. He's going to push into Ramos with his body into Ramos's left hip here to prevent Ramos from going forward. A key thing here is that Ramos grabs, or Mo Salah grabs Ramos's left arm with his right arm to prevent him from any further forward movement and access to the ball. This is not really successful because Ramos, as we will see, will get his foot on the ball. So that's the upper body. The lower body, let's look at the lower body. The leg going out can look like he's going to try to trip Mo Salah. He's going to try to do some type of hip throw if you're familiar with judo. We'll get into judo talk in a little bit, but there is no intention other than to touch the ball. It's pure coincidence that the hip goes there and ends up tripping or looking like a trip to Mo Salah, when indeed it's the intention is just to get that toe on the ball and dispossess. So here, this is where the judo comes into. The lower body is not intentional, all because his goal is to dispossess and tap the ball away. We have this tweet here from the European Judo Union calling it a wakigatami, which is a dangerous technique that's not allowed in judo because it can cause injury. It's a takedown, basically a takedown technique. This is not really the case, not applicable at all, because it is clearly an attempt to tap the ball away and dispossess. The judo just happens to look that way because of the way they're fighting for the ball. Going back to the upper body, we see here that Mo Salah is actually grabbing Ramos's left arm. So he's keeping his arm stuck in there, which further we might think, oh, it might cause injury because it's stuck onto Ramos's. They're tangled up. But Mo Salah knows this and intentionally does this to keep Ramos back, which, it could be dangerous, but I don't think it was the full reason why this all happened. The forward movement of Mo Salah was so strong in trying to prevent Ramos from getting in front of him that it causes both of them, Ramos being unbalanced on one foot, as you can see here on his right foot, the other foot is in the air, that they both are inevitably going to fall down. So here's where the fall happens. Ramos is going to brace with his right. Mo Salah is bracing as well with both hands. But let's look at the left hands of both players. The left hand, Ramos hits, braces, he lands first, his elbow is extended out. Mo Salah does as well, but he is going forward so much and is not turned to his side. You can see his upper body, his even lower body, his hips are parallel to the ground, whereas Ramos is perpendicular. And in that case, Ramos lands on his left side, and unfortunately, Mo Salah lands right on that shoulder, straight downward. That's that angle right there. Now let's look at this other angle, where here's where, right after Mo Salah lets go of Ramos's arm is a little bit tucked as he is attempting to prepare for his brace as he falls forward. The only malicious thing that you might think in seeing this is, why is Ramos's arm tucked in a little bit? That's just a result of his attempt to stop forward movement on the part of Mo Salah and try to get that toe poke. As you can see, as we further in, he extends and releases Mo Salah's arm because he's attempting to break his fall right here. And again, we can see the both left arms of both players are falling in a very similar pattern here. The issue is that Mo Salah extends his left arm a little bit too much and doesn't go into a forward roll type of movement as Ramos does. Ramos is on his side, and Mo Salah is straight. His body, his hips are straight up, and there's nowhere else for him to fall other than straight forward and on that shoulder. Ramos, of course, is on this turn, and if you look at it from a jiu-jitsu or even judo perspective, you can see that looks like it might be an arm bar. Initially, I thought, okay, did he injure his right arm, hyperextend his right arm? That was not the case, because if Ramos really intentionally wanted to hurt that right arm, he would be rolling back, tucking his left arm to trap that right arm of Mo Salah, and then roll on his back and then hyperextend. But that's not exactly what he does. What he really does actually is, he's just sliding back on the fall, and instead of rolling on his back, Sergio Ramos, what he does is he rolls back to his stomach. And you see here Mo Salah is able to bring his and bend his right arm, freeing it from any type of hyperextension. So the main point is that the momentum was so strong going forward. Mo Salah's positioning of his whole body was not ready for that type of fall and to roll out of it in the way that was appropriate. So it was just a bad situation for him. No intention, no malicious intent, I believe, on the part of Ramos, even with another incident that happened in Juventus, I believe, where he does this to a similar player. It's just going after the ball. Arms tangle all the time. The fall is what, unfortunately happened really bad for Mo Salah. So that's my analysis of this injury. You can agree and disagree. Let us know in the comments. And we'll see you tonight on the Cantina MX podcast. Have a good one.